I'm Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North. How has the pandemic impacted tourism on the Iron Range? We'll talk with range officials about attracting visitors to northern Minnesota. We'll hear the stories of two Wisconsin farmers who are experiencing both highs and lows brought on by the pandemic, and farmers in northern Minnesota experiencing the stress of COVID-19 conditions now have access to a mental health safety net. These stories are next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Dennis is off this week as we alternate hosting the program during the pandemic. Our show was recorded on Thursday afternoon. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought our region's economy to its knees, and its impact has been felt in all areas. After a slow start to the season due to COVID restrictions, visitors eager to get out of the house have been flocking to northern Minnesota. Is it enough to salvage the season for tourism-dependent businesses on the Iron Range? Beth Pierce may have some answers. She is Executive Director of the Iron Range Tourism Bureau, and Donna Johnson is Executive Director of the Minnesota Discovery Center in Chisholm. And thanks to both of you for being here. Really appreciate you making the drive down. Beth, let's start with you. Have you seen a lot of visitors on the range despite the pandemic as the summer has kind of gone on?
We really have. It keeps getting better, and more people are. They've had enough of being home, and they're venturing out and going into our trails and exploring our museums. And
How do the numbers compare, say, to last year?
Well, one measure we have for visitors is lodging taxes at our properties, and we're only down about 30% for the year. And that's partly because we had a really strong winter. January and February we did really well, but June we're down less than 50%. So that would be the last month I would have those figures for. And then we know that July got better and August is even better yet. So.
Is the same holding true, Donna, at the Minnesota Discovery Center?
It is. We didn't really know what to expect, but when we compare our numbers year over year, for the whole season we're lower about maybe 500 people, but that's due to not hosting our big events and large weddings. Everything's kind of downsized in our groups, but our general visitors coming through the front door actually have increased.
What are some of the challenges for you as a tourist attraction, one of the main ones in the region, as you try to welcome visitors and yet stay safe for both employees and the folks who are coming in?
I think first is giving the impression it's a safe place to come and visit. It's the visual, it's the stickers, it's the hand washing stations and social distancing in all of our different areas. But we're so spread out as an organization. We have over 600 acres on our property. And our museum exhibit space is quite large, but we have to have different restrictions for each area. But there's so much room to spread out within our park between the mini golf and the trolley and Glen location that it makes it easy for us to accommodate visitors, which is helpful.
And is that kind of true, Beth, of the region in general, that maybe all the wide open spaces give the range a bit of a regional advantage over some other areas?
I say definitely yes. We have lots of wide open spaces and lots of activities for people to do. And many of our museums and attractions, they are quite large, so there's lots of space for people to enjoy.
Donna, talk about the Redhead Mountain Bike Park and what that is meaning for the facility and for the region.
Well, it's been really fun to watch the parking lot fill up. We have people from all over the Midwest visiting every day. I feel like I try to go out there several times a week and just talk to the riders and see where they're from. And out of any given time, there's at least cars from 3 different states represented in the parking lot. And a lot of people do day trips from both Minneapolis and Duluth. And then we have our local riders that come out every night, and then people exploring it for the first time. I think what's beneficial with Redhead, it's kind of centrally located, and people can do a loop from Duluth to Giants Ridge, then over to Redhead, then to Tioga and down to Cuyuna. So it's become a real destination, and we're nice and centrally located for them to gather.
And this is a former mine site?
Yes, so it's the first time we've used a mining location for a mountain bike park. It's a recreational use, so the land can go back to mining some days, so it's a temporary use of the land, but it's really unique in Redhead that the scenery is just so majestic, and everywhere you look it's a different type of scenery. You have waterfalls, you have birch groves, you have the red iron ore, you have a little bit of everything, and it's a skill level for all different people. It goes all the way up to black diamond, so we're really attracting some really professional riders to the park too.
Beth, is this kind of an outdoor sport becoming more important to the tourism mix in the region? Are trails and attracting mountain bikers and hikers becoming a more important part of what you do?
It absolutely is. With the development of the trails at the Redhead, and Giants Ridge has some new trails. As Donna said, people are flocking to those. We have ATV trail development happening up there too, and that's always been really popular and becoming even more so.
Any concerns as the summer has gone on that folks coming to visit could be bringing COVID-19 with them? Or are either of you getting any pushback from people in the communities in trying to attract people to the region? I
think it's been pretty minor. You know, not like some other areas that you hear about. I've heard a few things here and there, but I think for the most part, we know that we have a great area, and we like when our friends and family come to visit. So really entertaining other visitors is not that much different, I don't think.
Are you doing anything different this year than other years in terms of trying to reach out to people or reach new markets?
We've kind of slowed down a little bit with our marketing, just because we don't want to come on too strong and make people uncomfortable. And but we haven't changed. We haven't completely stopped advertising either. So we want people to know that we're here. We want them to know about all the great opportunities they have, like at Redhead and other trails and all of our lakes and beaches and the museums and attractions that we have. So so we're still trying to get the word out.
Donna, it must be kind of hard to plan with all of the uncertainty that's going on. Has that been fairly stressful for folks with your organization?
I think so. It's really hard to know how to even plan, let alone a week ahead or even forecast 3 months. And especially now with the school districts reopening and whether or not we'll get school groups this year. So for an example, we have our Science and Engineering Festival that we do for all the local school districts. So this year we're bringing it out to the schools virtually and continuing to just think outside the box on how we can bring our museums out to people without having to physically visit on site. So it takes a lot of creativity, but it's kind of fun too to have to think about things differently that without COVID we may not have considered some of the things that we've implemented.
Have pretty much all of the activities, festivals on the range been shut down for the year or turned into a virtual experience?
Yes, they've been modified. There were still some parades this summer. Pasty Fest is coming up in October, and they're going to do a virtual drive-through. You can get your pasty in Mountain Iron in the first part of October. But yes, we had lots of cancellations, like everyone.
What's the outlook as you look toward fall in terms of the numbers for the year and where you'll be on the end of this?
I think we're going to come out better than we thought going into this. And especially if schools are offering some kind of online learning, we might see people taking more 3-day weekends, traveling more into the fall than they might as families. So I think that's something to look forward to. And winter is also always a great season on the Iron Range.
Any quick message for people who might be thinking of making a visit?
Iron Range has so much history and so many great stories to tell, and now you can hear those stories and then experience them on the trails and see how mining has changed the land and how it's just a beautiful place.
All right, Beth Pierce, Donna Johnson, thank you so much for coming down and sharing some information, and good luck as the season goes forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as if farming wasn't difficult enough, now add the pandemic to the stress load. First, we'll hear from two farmers in Wisconsin to learn more about the impact on business and mental health. Producer Ramona Morozes talked with a farmer running a mid-sized dairy operation and a farmer running a small organic farm to gain a better understanding of their perspectives on the pandemic.
I don't think that the pandemic has differentiated between farmers and non-farmers. It has been stressful for everyone.
I think the dairy industry is struggling. Some of the beef producers I know are struggling to get their cows to slaughter. The plants are at capacity.
Farmers, for the most part, are very resilient. You know, we tend to figure out how to get it done because, quite frankly, we don't have any choices. It isn't an option to not get the work done. So we figure it out. I'm Jay Richardson of Sunbow Farms, and we milk approximately 1,400 dairy cows, and we raise about 2,400 acres of crops. We raise corn for grain, corn silage, and alfalfa for hay. We've had to adjust, not unlike any other businesses, with one exception. And that is that our cows demand care 24/7, 365 days. And so we can't just shut the doors and say, well, we're going to take 2 weeks off while everybody gets healthy. We know that the market's going to crash again. So it's hurry up and hoard your cash, if you will, you know, and get prepared for the next cycle.
Since May, we've probably picked up 90% of our sales, 80, 90%. Many of those were repeat customers. But we had a lot of new people join this year, which is great. We have a very intrepid extension agent in Ashland and Bayfield County, and he put together our CSA marketing cooperative called Bayfield Foods. So it's made up of 18 farms in Ashland and Bayfield County, and it's a diverse mix of farms. We have vegetables, we have beef, we have fruit, we have processed foods, and put them online, and people can really get a wide selection of products. And this year they can select exactly what they want every week and get a box delivered to either to their neighborhood or their door. As much of a bummer the pandemic has been, people do have a smile on their face when they talk about the sales.
2020 was starting to look like it was going to be a fairly good year. And then when the pandemic hit in February and March with all of the unknowns, and then restaurants started to slow down and shut down, that dramatically impacted the demand for food service products, of which dairy is a huge part. And it proceeded to crash the market. We're what's called price takers, not price makers. And so we get paid whatever the market says that product that we shipped was worth a month later. Prior to the pandemic, you know, we'd experienced 5 years of really low prices.
The challenges of rural America are more like there's less money here, there's less opportunity here. And so it's a weaker response system to something like an epidemic. So the safety net that might be in urban America isn't necessarily in rural America. We're poorer, we're sicker, and we're older than the country as a whole. So when an epidemic like this strikes, the feelings are felt more acutely out here.
The primary struggles have been the unknown. The unknown in terms of the markets and pricing, all the way back. You know, we didn't know if our processor was going to be able to take all of the milk, and if we were going to have to dump milk. As it turned out, we did not have to dump milk. I have friends in southern Wisconsin that did have to dump milk. Dairy farmers and farmers in general also don't want to waste anything. You know, we're not only frugal, we're cheap, generally speaking. And to see anything be wasted is just, it's terrible. And to have to take semi loads of high quality milk and dump it into the manure pit has to be terribly disheartening.
Certainly, we're all challenged with mental health issue these days, and the indicators of almost any mental health measurement aren't good at all the past 4 or 5 months in this country. So yeah, it affects me too. Like, we would go get farmer coffee once a week in my town, and we'd sit around and lie to each other, and can't do that anymore.
I think the future is still bright for Wisconsin dairy. Doesn't matter the size of an operation, how many cows you're milking, where you're located. Don't ever equate your self-worth to your net worth.
Recently, the Wisconsin Ag Department recognized a need for farmer support with its rollout of a new pilot program offering 24/7 hotline and counseling resources. Meanwhile, in northern Minnesota, mental health help is now available for farmers through a program of the Lake Superior Community Health Center. The Twin Ports-based center is modeling its resources around similar work with farmers in southern Minnesota over the past 2 decades. Here to tell us more is Rich Tunnell, the Rural Mental Health Program Coordinator at the Health Center, and Jessie Peterson is the Chief Operating Officer at Lake Superior Community Health Center. And thanks to both of you for coming in. An interesting area of expertise you have in terms of dealing with the mental health issues specifically related to farmers. Can you talk, Rich, about some of the real specific concerns that farmers in this area might be experiencing both in a typical year and maybe those that are a little more pronounced because of COVID-19?
Yes. Farming is stressful as it is. I mean, there are always so many variables in farming that they don't necessarily see right away, because like pricing and how their produce is doing, how the workflow is going to go when it hits the manufacturing area. I mean, there's so many different variables with that. And so just trying to focus on what they can do today in their farm and on a daily basis is stressful. Now you add COVID to it. Now with COVID recently, just the interruption in the workflow caused a lot of concerns. When the schools shut down, when the restaurants shut down, now all of a sudden all the things that they were purchasing and all the workflow that was set up to go to those areas is now stopped. So that put a backlog on the workflow. So now the farmers themselves all of a sudden have all this excess, trying to figure out what to do with it. So that is kind of mellowed out a little bit. They're working through that, but that's always, it's going to be a concern for quite a while, because if the work processing plant has an issue with COVID or whatever that hits them and they have to shut down or partially shut down, now you have another issue that the farmer has to end up dealing with.
Now, Jessie, the Rural Mental Health Support Program is new and came on board after COVID was an issue here, but I understand that it was actually in the works for a long time before that. Talk about how it came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just really fortunate as a community health center to have the opportunity to be innovative, and our mission, improving access to quality healthcare for all, allows us to continually be focused on what population is in need and how do we meet that need. In this particular case, what we're really fortunate is that we also have the Miller-Dwan Foundation here in the Twin Ports. And to the credit of the Miller-Dwan Foundation, when we reached out and when we said we're aware of this incredible need amongst our agricultural community for mental health services that are offered in a completely unique way. Not every farmer can get out of the fields to come in for an hour therapy session once a week. Not every family dynamic also is willing to deal with that stigma of coming in and dealing with that. So when we approached the foundation, they were on board and they thought it was a great idea. We are modeling this after a really successful program that started in southern Minnesota, and we've had the good fortune of Ted Matthews and his mentorship in helping us to build our program for northern Minnesota. And so again, what we're able to do is to say, we're here to meet our clients really, truly where they're at. And in this case, that means therapy in a very unique model, and something that just isn't being offered really anywhere else. And so it's just been a really fun partnership. And yes, we have been working on this for about 1.5 years, and then COVID struck and we said, well, there's even more need now. And the isolation and the impacts of that lent themselves even more to this style of therapy, where Rich is able to get a phone call, he's able to talk through whatever issues might be arising and not having to have someone come into the office. So it's been a really wonderful partnership.
Mm-hmm. Rich, talk about some of the services or resources that are available and how you're reaching out to connect with those folks who might need them.
Well, right now, basically any calls that I get from the farmers or any other agricultural area, I'm willing to meet with them on their farm whenever they want to. And really the focus of this is with their mental health. It's dealing with the stresses, their depression, their anxieties. It's not, the way we've set this up is it's a fully funded program, so there is no cost, there's no insurance that we have to deal with. We don't have to worry about trying to diagnose for a mental illness and do all the paperwork for that. So this is really a unique program that way, where all we have to do is be there for the farmers and the other agriculture folks.
Mm-hmm. Jessie mentioned the stigma that has to be overcome, not just with the agricultural community, but pretty much in society-wide when it comes to mental health. There's a perception of farmers as maybe rugged, stoic,
Yes.
Tough. How do you break through that and just kind of let them know that it's okay to reach out for help? And
that's a huge part of this. And that's when we started this program, it's one of the reasons that we were told that it's going to take a while to get it up and running. And it's really just trying to build that trust relationship and to maybe let the farmers or their family understand that we're not there, we're there mainly just to help and be a third party, just to listen and to guide where they might need some guidance on how to handle situations, how to handle their anger, how to handle their frustrations, how to communicate better. And a lot of times it might not come from the farmer directly because they don't want to talk about themselves and their emotions, but it might be a family member that encourages them. And this is an occupation that is very prone to suicide. And so if there are people out there that can see someone pulling back, doing things that they wouldn't normally do, that's the time to really reach out and talk to someone like me or other counselors. And for me, it's like I said, it's a unique case where I can go and see them on where they're the most comfortable, at the time they're most comfortable with, on the farm, in an office. It's not like a normal mental health facility where they have to come to town, they meet in an office for 50 minutes, and then you get up and leave. I've spent 2 to 3 hours with a couple, just talking, seeing where they're at and how things are going and how I can help. And that's been very beneficial.
Is there a whole network of other resources that are available to people who access this program because this is part of the Community Health Center?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So, this is a very unique program in the fact that we are able to meet them where they're at, but anyone who accesses this program, we also, as a Community Health Center, like to say there's no wrong door. So if somebody meets with Rich and they also need a primary care medical provider, we'll get them in for a medical appointment. If they need dental care, if they need other more structured behavioral health, substance abuse, we now offer chiropractic care. So we are continually growing also healthcare insurance navigation. So we really are proud of the fact that we offer this integrated care. And so for us, if what they need is for Rich to be there for a few hours and to listen, that's enough. But if they want to come in and to become a part of our healthcare family, absolutely, they're absolutely welcome in.
We were talking a little bit before we went on the air about how initial plans were to maybe meet with people at county fairs and get out there. Well, the pandemic has put the kibosh on that. How can people connect with you? What's the best way to get in touch and to access these services?
To call Lake Superior Community Health Center is a big one. I have a direct phone number that's on that website, which is Lake Superior Community Health Center. All right. And I have a direct number that they can call me and reach me. I carry that phone with me wherever I go. So those are the two best ways of reaching me for any of these services for the farm.
All right. Well, we hope that we educated some people out in the community about the program, and that maybe your phone will start ringing and you can do some help.
Really appreciate the opportunity to come here today.
All right.
Thank you.
Rich, Jessie, thank you. Appreciate it. We're always looking for story ideas here on the show, and we encourage you to keep up with Almanac North by following us on social media. You'll find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Over the next month, we'll be rolling out some new features and a whole new look for Almanac North, so watch for that. And visit the WDSC website for program updates, upcoming events, and more information about the station. And don't forget to download the PBS Video App for on-demand viewing of your favorite programs. Thanks to our guests and to the crew here in the studio. I'm Julie ZENNER. Stay healthy, everyone. We'll see you next time.